Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases. Today's critique looks at a SpeakDuo lesson, and you can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from around the world practicing English on video calls to become more confident speaking.
The vocabulary definitions provide a functional baseline, but miss the nuanced context required for advanced English learners.
Yeah. Can you break down exactly where that baseline falls short in the text? Because we are dealing with some pretty vivid idioms here.
Right. So the primary weakness is that the definitions are just entirely too flat for a high-level audience. I mean, they give you the dictionary meaning, but they completely lack information about register.
Register, meaning like whether it's formal or slang?
Exactly. There's no indication of the emotional weight. For instance, the material teaches drive someone nuts right alongside stand by something, treating them as total equals.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if the material doesn't clarify that drive someone nuts is highly casual, an advanced learner might just, drop that into a high-stakes environment.
They really might. Imagine them looking at their boss during a board meeting and saying, this quarterly report is driving me nuts.
That would be a massive social misstep.
Huge. And advanced adult learners are terrified of exactly that. They aren't just trying to pass a test, they're trying to navigate complex professional hierarchies.
Right. So what is the suggestion to fix this?
The suggestion is to integrate a context and nuance tag for every expression. This immediately signals when and with whom it's appropriate to use the phrase, and it really helps to contrast it with a similar alternative.
Let's actually synthesize that. So if I'm looking at in the hot seat, the document just says being under pressure.
Which isn't enough. We need to explicitly differentiate it from just being stressed. In the hot seat implies being targeted with intense questions by an authority figure.
Like a completely different alternative would be just saying, I'm overwhelmed, right?
Exactly. Overwhelmed is internal stress. In the hot seat is external interrogation. For the context tag, you'd mark it as informal but common in business.
So an example sentence for like an IELTS speaking part 2 response could be, during my university defense, I was really in the hot seat when the professor asked about my methodology.
That is perfect. It shows that specific dynamic of being questioned.
What about a phrase like make something up? The document just says inventing a story.
Again, too broad. We need to clarify the nuance between maliciously lying to deceive someone versus just playfully improvising under pressure.
Right, because telling a lie is heavy. Making something up feels more spontaneous.
It really does. So an upgraded example for a work context could be, I didn't have the data ready for the client, so I had to make something up on the spot about a software glitch.
It shows improvisation, not necessarily deep deceit. But let me push back a little here. Is there a risk that adding all this nuance up front might overwhelm the learner?
How so?
Well, it's almost like handing someone the entire engineering manual for a sports car when they just want to know how to start the engine.
I see what you mean. And cognitive overload is real. But advanced learners actually need that engineering manual to avoid crashing in real conversations.
Because they're already past the basics?
Right. Intermediate learners just want to start the engine. Advanced learners want to know how the car handles on a sharp turn at midnight. Nuance is what separates intermediate from advanced fluency.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we've added nuance tags, but understanding a definition isn't the same as retention, They need a memorable context.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the next issue. The lesson introduces engaging multimedia at the beginning, but fails to integrate this hook throughout the core vocabulary exercises.
It is a really jarring pivot. The first page features this video hook titled Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson Take, setting up this fun celebrity vibe.
And then the material just abandons it completely.
Yeah, I'm looking at the next exercise and it's totally unrelated. There's a sentence about a rainbow and the next is about an older cousin.
The weakness here is that failing to pull that video's narrative through creates a disjointed experience. The brain builds a schema about celebrities and then suddenly is shattered by a rainbow.
It forces the learner to constantly shift gears mentally.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to anchor the vocabulary examples directly in the narrative or setting of that introductory video.
Let's brainstorm that. The current example for catch a glimpse of is, I caught a glimpse of a rainbow.
Right. And if we compare catch a glimpse of to simply seeing something, the nuance is that a glimpse is fleeting and often accidental. A rainbow usually sits in the sky for a while, so it's a poor example.
So mapping it to the Hollywood theme, we could say, I caught a glimpse of Jennifer Lawrence hiding from the paparazzi at the premiere.
Perfect. The paparazzi element implies that fleeting, accidental view perfectly.
We could do the same for get something off your chest. The current text has a student worried about a math test.
Let's tie it back to the actors. Getting something off your chest implies releasing a heavy emotional burden or a secret, contrasted with just, casually complaining about the weather.
So maybe Robert Pattinson needed to get something off his chest about the intense pressure of playing Batman.
That perfectly models the gravity of the idiom.
But wait, could focusing solely on celebrities limit their ability to apply these phrases? Like, if every example is a red carpet scenario, aren't we preventing them from talking about their own lives?
I definitely see that pitfall, but the key is distinguishing between input and output.
Input meaning the reading passages and examples?
Yes, the input should fiercely utilize the video for sticky context, but the output, like the breakout room prompts, should explicitly pivot back to the learner's personal experiences.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The input holds attention, the output tests personal application, and that transitions us to the mechanical flow of the document.
Right. The instructional flow relies on a repetitive, uniform structure that limits the escalation of cognitive challenge.
It really does feel like a grade school worksheet. Expression, practice, same exact format for all 10 idioms.
And the weakness of that predictable rhythm is that it breeds passivity. Using the same direct Q&A format means the students aren't pushed to combine phrases or use them dynamically.
They get comfortable just filling in the blanks.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to intentionally evolve the practice activities, so they build from simple recognition to complex integrated production.
So keep the simple Q&A for the first breakout room to break the ice. But maybe by breakout room 3, we force them to combine multiple idioms organically.
That's exactly it. For instance, ask them to tell a short story about a time they had to sneak off because a colleague was driving them nuts.
Those are great to combine. And to contrast sneak off with just leaving, sneaking off has a stealthy, maybe slightly guilty nuance to it.
Right. And combining that stealth with the persistent irritation of driving someone nuts requires much higher cognitive processing than a simple fill in the blank.
What about escalating it for the final breakout room, the climax of the lesson?
Strip away the guided storytelling and offer a complex debate prompt. Require them to use phrases like stand by something or run laps around someone.
Oh, I like those. Standing by something is so much stronger than just agreeing. It means maintaining your position despite heavy criticism.
Yes, and running laps around someone is a wonderfully visual way to say you vastly outperformed the competition, as opposed to just saying, we did better.
In a debate, their use of those idioms has to become automatic because they're focusing on their argument.
That is the ultimate test of advanced fluency.
I love that. But just to play devil's advocate, isn't a predictable rhythm comforting? Like practicing scales on a piano so you don't have anxiety about what's coming next?
Scales are necessary for warming up, sure. Scaffolding gives you that comfort early on. But an advanced workshop can't just be an hour of playing scales. At some point, you have to take away the sheet music and let them play the song.
Taking off the training wheels.
Exactly. This rigid structure leaves the training wheels on for the entire hour.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, to really cement these definitions, let's actually conduct a quick quiz right now for the listeners.
Oh, I like this. Put them in the hot seat.
Exactly. I'll read the question and the options as option A, option B, and option C. We'll repeat the phrase to keep it fresh, give a moment to pause, and then reveal the answer.
Sounds good. Hit me with the first one.
All right, question 1. What is the best definition for the expression in the hot seat? Is it option A, to find yourself placed under intense questioning or facing remarkably heavy pressure during a highly stressful time? Option B, to deliberately refuse to adequately prepare for a remarkably complicated business presentation despite early warning? Or option C, to successfully violently negotiate a significantly lower financial purchase price for a remarkably expensive product?
Listeners, feel free to pause the critique here if you need a second to think about in the hot seat.
And the answer for in the hot seat is option A. It's about intense questioning, like our example of defending your methodology to a professor.
Right. Question 2. How is the phrasal verb to sneak off accurately defined? Option A. To forcefully demand an entirely sincere public apology following an exceptionally hostile corporate argument earlier. Option B. To intentionally quietly depart from a highly specific location or gathering so that other people absolutely miss it. Or option C. To carefully, completely organize a remarkably complicated corporate legal process into easily manageable assignments.
Pause here if you need to think about what it means to sneak off.
And the correct answer for to sneak off is option B, quietly departing so others miss it, just like our scenario of sneaking off when a colleague is annoying you.
Okay, question 3. If someone manages to catch a glimpse of something, what exactly are they doing? Option A, to efficiently, correctly, systematically, totally ignore completely all extremely difficult management advice available. Option B, to actively, confidently, violently, purposely, permanently disrupt an organized public gathering in order to draw notice. Or option C, to successfully barely see a specific person or a highly particular thing for only a remarkably brief passing moment.
Take a second and pause if you need to define catch a glimpse of.
The answer for catch a glimpse of is option C, barely seeing something for a brief moment, like catching a glimpse of Jennifer Lawrence hiding from the paparazzi.
Spot on. Question 4. What does a person mean when they say they will drive someone nuts? Option A, to continuously, deeply annoy or intensely, completely frustrate a highly specific individual over an extended duration. Option B, to deliberately, completely, purposefully, completely ruin an ongoing professional plan or actively destroy your success. Or option C, to rapidly, forcefully, entirely, completely dismantle a massive business structure before fully recreating its deep root. Go ahead and pause if you need to think about drive someone nuts.
The answer for drive someone nuts is option A, deeply annoying someone over time, like an overly demanding boss. Question 5. Which of the following describes what it means to make something up? Option A, to physically detach a remarkably heavy wooden object from its original metal frame to secretly access a guarded room. Option B, to completely successfully invent a highly false story or a convenient fake excuse to effectively avoid great trouble. Or option C, to enthusiastically, incredibly rapidly, forcefully, permanently, entirely utilize a remarkably great initial ongoing idea.
Pause here if you need time to consider make something up.
The answer for make something up is option B, inventing a convenient fake excuse, like making up a story about a software glitch to buy some time.
Perfect. Question 6. What occurs when a person manages to get something off your chest? Option A, to aggressively force an incredibly tired colleague to continuously work well beyond their standard weekly desk hours. Option B, to remarkably, suddenly, deliberately, manually, forcefully, heavily shatter a surprisingly heavy industrial manufacturing. Or option C, to successfully, properly, verbally share something that has been intensely, deeply, deeply worrying you to feel relieved.
Take a moment to pause if you need to define get something off your chest.
And the answer for get something off your chest is option C, sharing a deep worry to feel relieved, just like Robert Pattinson talking about the pressure of playing Batman.
Question 7. What does it mean if you are able to run laps around someone? Option A, to be significantly better or remarkably faster than another specific individual at a highly distinct, important task. Option B, to efficiently, rapidly, completely utilize a remarkably great initial idea to make much further progress on an project. Or option C, to correctly, accurately predict the highly uncertain outcome of an upcoming global political event using the new math.
Pause the audio if you need to think about run laps around someone.
The answer for run laps around someone is option A,
being significantly better than someone else, which is a great phrase to use in that final debate exercise we discussed.
Absolutely. And our final question, question 8, what happens when someone says they will stand by something? Option A, to intentionally completely hide incredibly sensitive personal information to entirely avoid a massive public scandal. Option B, to confidently, fiercely, consistently continue to actively support or thoroughly defend a specific belief or choice now. Or option C, to successfully, firmly establish a strong foundation.
Pause here if you need a moment for stand by something.
The answer for stand by something is option B, consistently defending a specific belief, which again is crucial for expressing advanced fluency during a debate.
That was a great review. It really highlights how much nuance is packed into these phrases.
It really does.
So, to concisely summarize the 3 main areas for improvement we've uncovered in this analysis. First, the material needs situational nuance and register tags added to the definitions.
Right. Mark what's informal and what carries heavy emotional weight.
Second, the writer must weave the initial celebrity video hook throughout the core examples to lower cognitive load.
Rewrite the isolated examples to match the celebrity theme.
And third, intentionally escalate the complexity of the breakout room exercises to avoid structural monotony.
Move from simple Q&A to integrated storytelling, culminating in a debate prompt.
Exactly. We warmly invite the writer to implement these actionable revisions and submit the updated lesson plan back to us for another critique.
Trust your audience and give them the whole engineering manual.
Perfectly said. You don't just want them to start the engine. You want them driving that sports car in the rain.